Jason. I am just on my way to my cabin. You can see that the aisleways are not very wide, and yet the cabins are quite large. On board deck now, you can see the water is a little bit rough today. The reason we have different sound on here now is because all you can hear is lots of waves, etc., lots of noise. We are now on our way to Alexandria in Egypt. As you can see, the water is a little bit rough. It's really not too rough, but some people did become seasick because of this. Let's have a listen to what the actual sound was like way back in July of 1990 on board the MTS Jason. I am now shooting from my cabin window, and as you can see, the water is still a little bit rough. I'm just explaining that my roommate became seasick because of the rough water, although it wasn't too rough, but I guess if you're not used to traveling, this could happen. can see our rooms are quite nice. We have a small bathroom with a shower and 2 beds. There is room for another person up on top, but luckily the 2 of us were able to share 1 room. As a matter of fact, this room was better than the hotel room that we had in Athens. We also had a radio and a telephone. And again, a place to look out. This is already the next morning, and as you can see, the sea is much calmer. So let's join again the MTS Jason and the actual sound that we had on the time we were on board. Inside the cabin, it's really quite quiet. You can't really hear the water slushing outside, although as you can see from the port window that we are quite close to the water. Just explaining at this point about my roommate who is staying in Cairo overnight and giving me the cabin to myself. I'll be going to Cairo, but I'm not leaving to Cairo until we arrive in Port Said. This is the actual lounge on board the ship, and we'll now actually join the sound on the MTS Jason.
Teacher reception, thank you.
Ships coming the other way. This is the Alexandria Harbor.
I thought you missed it.
Greek and Spanish. I will talk English. My colleague Vasia will talk Greek to the group in the back, and I will talk again Spanish. Thank you for your patience. So now we are driving rapidly through the harbor of Port of Alexandria. Alexandria is an important harbor on the Mediterranean Sea and the second city in Egypt after Cairo. Alexandria has a population of 4 million. Egypt has 55 million and Cairo has 14 million. Ahora los españoles. Estoy la guía, me llamo Dudu, es más fácil. Y ahora tenemos aquí un grupo mixto, tenemos griegos, inglés y españoles. Entonces, cuando Alejandro Magno conquistó Egipto, y la ciudad que vemos hoy no es la vieja Alejandría, estamos en la nueva, las únicas catacumbas que tenemos en Egipto, época romana. Y ahora vamos a visitar las catacumbas. I was saying that Alexandria was built in the year 332 BC for Alexander the Great when he conquered Egypt. At that time, the city that was built is not what we see. What we see is the new Alexandria that was built over the old Alexandria. The ancient city is underneath. Today, we cannot make excavations because we'll have to pull down all these houses. It is impossible. It is only by coincidence when we find something of the old city. Like, for instance, the catacombs that we're going to visit right now. The catacombs were discovered, they are the only catacombs we have in Egypt. They are of the Roman period, 2nd century. They were discovered by coincidence in 1900 when a donkey pulling a cart fell down in a well. They started excavating and they discovered the catacombs. This is the center, the actual center of the city, commercial center. Ahora estamos en el centro comercial de la ciudad, centro moderno. Y tenemos de frente la plaza principal de Alejandría, se llama la Plaza de la Liberación. We have in front of us the main square of Alexandria. It is called the Liberation Square. In the center of the square, we have the statue of Muhammad Ali, the founder of the last dynasty. He ruled Egypt from 1805 to 1848. Tomorrow in Cairo we shall visit his mosque, the Alabaster Mosque. Y ahora tenemos en centro la estatua de Muhammad Ali, fundador de la última dinastía en Egipto en el año 1805 hasta 1848. Esta es una mezquita que vamos a visitar mañana en el Cairo. Se llama la mezquita de Alabastro. Por derecha es el Palacio de Justicia. To the right it is the Palace of Justice. Now, I would like to tell you something about the catacombs we are going to visit. The catacombs were made in the Roman period in Egypt. The Romans came in Egypt after the Greeks in the year 30 BC. The last Greek queen was Cleopatra. She suicided in the year 30 when the Romans conquered Egypt. And the Romans remained 400 years in Egypt with the same capital, always Alexandria, that was built by the Greeks. It was in Alexandria that the Romans made catacombs. The catacombs are tombs. The ones we are going to visit is a tomb made in the Roman time, in the 2nd century, for a rich Roman family, made of father, mother, and son, 3 people. But Christianity was introduced in Egypt by St. Marcus in the year 40, and the Christians were persecuted by the Romans. Very, very hard persecutions. So they had to go and hide somewhere, not to be caught by the Romans. They went to hide in the catacombs, in the tombs, where they lived for months and months, and where they ended up by dying, and where they were buried in the catacombs. So the catacombs, which is a tomb for a family of 3 people, contains over 300 tombs of Christians that were hiding from the Romans. The small tombs of the Christians are called loculi. You will see down in the catacombs the 3 main tombs of the Romans and several loculi all around that were tombs for the Christians. Las catacumbas romanas are a tomb for a rich family Roman of 3 people. But we know that the Christians were hiding there, and we have 300 loculi underneath. The catacombs are made of 3 floors. A first one where we have a well in the center and steps that go around the well. Then a second where we have the funerary chamber where the 3 tombs of the rich Roman family were made. And the bodies were passed through the well, through a tunnel to the funerary chamber. Now, people who suffer from claustrophobia and who would not like to go down the catacombs can remain in the garden in the open air up, and we shall go inside with the others. You can remain in the garden in the open air, and you can take pictures if you want in the garden. But the ones who want to go inside and take pictures with their cameras, they have to tell me now if they take their cameras. We have to buy a ticket. They have to buy a ticket for each camera of 5 Egyptian pounds. So if you are taking any cameras, please tell me now so that I know how many tickets have to be bought. Does anyone want to take a camera inside or a video? Yes? In the bus? No problem. Yes, no problem. And you can take pictures outside as many as you want. Outside is free. It is inside that it is not allowed without a ticket. We are now going through the area of the harbor. This is still the area of the harbor. And when Alexandria was built, at the time of Alexandria or Alexander, it was built in this area. The city, you see today, Alexandria goes from west to east on the seashore, 30 kilometers. But at that time, Alexander's time, when the first Alexandria was built, it was only in the west part. Today it is 132. Tenía la parte oeste de la ciudad de hoy. Hoy la ciudad de Alejandría del oeste hasta el este tiene 30 kilómetros, pero la primera parte del oeste se encuentra encima de la vieja Alejandría. La segunda parte al este no tiene nada abajo porque la ciudad no venía más de aquí. Ahora estamos donde fue la vieja Alejandría. We are now in the part where there was the old Alexandria, the ancient city. On the right side, it is a cemetery of Alexandria. This cemetery is where we used to have the ancient library, the famous library of Alexandria. The library was burned, but around the library there were 400 big pillars. They were also burned with the library. One pillar remained in good shape, and they erected it here in the year 285. y columnas igual a esta. Hoy tenemos solamente una. There were 400 pillars like this one. Now, today, we have only one that stands up.
Yes. It's Sunday, right?
Yes.
Some shops are open, some closed.
Today, Sunday, is a working day in Egypt, like all Islamic countries, because our day off is Friday. But the shops close on Sunday. Some of them will open, but usually most of them are closed on Sunday, and they open on Friday. Aquí en Egipto, igual a todos los países islámicos, tenemos el viernes día de vacación. Y el domingo todos trabajan, los oficios, las bancas, todo. Pero las tiendas cierran el domingo y abren el viernes. Es una excepción. Hoy, el domingo, la mayor parte de las tiendas están... Like the catacombs themselves, because the catacombs are the Kom el-Shugafa catacombs. Igual a las catacumbas misma, porque las catacumbas tienen este nombre, Kom el-Shugafa.
So we're here in Alexandria. Everybody else has gone into the catacombs, under the ground. And this is the garden that we can spend time in.
Now we are leaving this area, the Alexandria is built on the seashore. It goes from west to east, 30 kilometers. From north to south it is very narrow, because in the north we have the Mediterranean, and in the south we have a salt lake called Mariud that make a natural limit to the city. The city cannot grow north, neither south. It's always growing west or east. Now we are in the west and we are going to cross the whole city to the east. Before, on our way, we shall stop for a few minutes in front of the pillar I just showed you, that is called today the Pompeii's Pillar. We know that there was a big fire in which the library, the famous library of Alexandria, was burned. There were 400 pillars around the library. They were also broken and burned. That was in the year 50 BC. The fire was made by Julius Caesar. Later, in the year 285, there was an emperor, a Roman emperor, called Theodosius. It was the Roman time for Egypt. And Alexandria had suffered very much from a bad time of hunger. So Theodosius allowed Alexandria not to send corn that year to Rome. And to thank Theodosius, the people of Alexandria erected one pillar of the 400 that were broken, the best one remained, and erected it in honor of Theodosius in this place. Later they called it the Pompey's pillar because they thought that the ashes of Pompey were on top of the pillar, which was wrong. La columna por aquí por la izquierda. If you want to take pictures, you can take pictures now. You have the pillar on... Había 400 igual a esta alrededor de la biblioteca antigua.
Like it holds on to you.
All this is over the ancient city. The ancient city should be down underneath. We are still over the ancient city. Ahora estamos en escuelas extranjeras. Inglés, francés, alemán, griego, italiano. To the left, this is the Faculty of Polytechnic or Engineering. Por la izquierda es la Facultad por Ingenieros. En Alejandría tenemos una universidad. In Alexandria we have a university. In Cairo we have 3 universities. And all over the country we have several other universities. University in Egypt is free. It is not paid for. But you have to have very high marks to get into university. En Egipto, las universidades... In Alexandria, we have just 2 roads or streets that take the city from one end to the other. This one and the other one on the left side on the seashore. So there's always much traffic on these streets because they are the only ones that take the city from end to end. We shall see beaches and we shall see fishermen. Fishing always, as you can see. And people swimming in the sea. Many people come from Cairo to spend their summer vacations in Alexandria because we have at least 6 or 7 degrees less than Cairo during the summer, and they have the several beaches all around the coast where they spend the day and where they go swimming. Yes, it is clean, because it's an open sea. Ahora tenemos todo a lo largo de la corniche, esta calle, esta avenida, cerca al mar, playas donde tenemos mucha gente que llega del Cairo por pasar el verano, las vacaciones en Alejandría, porque tenemos todo el verano tenemos al menos 5 o 6 grados de menos del Cairo. Entonces llegan aquí por pasar bien el verano, las vacaciones, y pasar el tiempo en la playa donde pueden ir en el mar, pescar. So les ver las playas llenas de gente. You can see how the beaches are full of people.
Copacabana. Exactly.
Taza, which is the king's residence in Alexandria. The king of Egypt used to have a residence in Alexandria for the 4 summer months. The king used to come to Alex, and the ministers, the ministries, everybody came to Alex for the 4 summer months every year. And that was his residence. It is called the Palace of Montaza. That is where we are going now. The king has left Egypt on the 26th of July 1952, 38 years ago, and Egypt has become a republic. Today the palace is open to the public, and they made beaches for the buildings and the water for the roads. Now you can see palm trees that give dates. All these are dates. They are not yet ripe. They will be in October, November. It will all be red and very nice. We have also orange trees and lemon trees, and we have all sorts of flowers. The beaches are around the palace. Now we will stop for a quarter of an hour here if you want to take pictures, and then back to the bus. We will drive further, and we will stop in a very nice place where you will get tea and cakes. Ahora nos paramos.
Allí la de roja. Yes,
beach and private harbor.
British occupation in 1919. Este es la estatua de Sazalul, es el héroe nacional que empezó el movimiento nacional contra el Monument to the Unknown Soldier. Este es el monumento al soldado desconocido.
They tell you